So then, what is time? Let me ask you. Is time sequential? It makes sense, right? So I had lunch at 4 o'clock, I'm going to have dinner at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, right? But what happens if you could have dinner before you had lunch? What happens if 8 o'clock came before 4 o'clock? Couldn't happen, right? Because time is sequential. Events happen one at a time.
Okay.
I'm asking you, do they or don't they?
I mean, at least the way I experience it, yes.
Right.
They do.
Right. Well, that's a good answer. So the way you experience it. Now, what are you experiencing it through?
My consciousness.
All right. Those are the terms. We'll come back to the whole discussion, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm experiencing it through my body and mind.
Well, your body's not experiencing time. I mean, the concept we're talking about, exploring the concept.
Exploring the concept, okay, it's a hypothetical, it's in my mind.
It's a concept in your mind, right? So does it exist? In my mind it does. Does this world exist? In my mind it does. Is the world here with certainty? There's no way you can answer that. Because if your mind wasn't here, this world wouldn't be here for certainty. How would you know that this world existed without you being here?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So then, does the world exist?
Existentially.
Oh, you don't know the answer of that.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So then again, the path of direct experience. So now, if we then say from experience, does time pass at the same rate every time? Every time, right? So if we look at that and we say, how much time has passed, right? And you look at the watch and you say, I think it's been 2 hours, right? Another person goes, no, it feels like more like 20 minutes. What is that indicating? Is time fixed? Obviously, we're using this as a reference, but something else is keeping time differently. You say, oh, that went so quickly. I thought it would take longer. So, okay, well, if we just take it from a purely physical perspective without getting in the other aspect of it, time on Earth is being measured in the earliest days from the sundial, right? In the earliest days, looking at the sun rising and the sunset. So in the future, you'd say, what's the time? Well, you'd say, well, it's before sunrise. Well, how many minutes before sunrise? Well, there weren't any minutes, so we don't know how many minutes were. So it was just recently, in the last 200 years, that the concept of minutes and seconds was really implemented in that particular way. In fact, a few hundred years ago in Italy, the trains would arrive at midday. It'd be like, well, that's the middle of the day, that's when the train comes. And you get on the train. So the train would be waiting. It'd be like, well, it's midday yet, are you coming on the train? Yeah. And then if you turn up a lot past midday, well, it left, it's no longer midday. But there's a huge gap between what time midday was and how it was. And as the train systems got more sophisticated, they said, well, this can't continue because at midday we've got 7 trains. Now, which part of midday it is? And then we evolved past all of that. And then you look at the entire evolution of timekeeping on Earth time. I mean, now we're at the point of atomic clocks, which would measure using isotopes the exact dimensions of the split nature of the second. It's not even, the second now has become this huge thing. I mean, you can go into it to such a level that we're looking at a billionth of a second because of isotopes and atomic timekeeping, which was a great revelation, actually, because what they discovered with these atomic clocks is they put an atomic clock which measured now by split second, not even split, billionth of a second in the plane. Atomic clock there, and then an atomic clock on the ground. And they said, well, what's the time on the ground? The time on the ground had become different to the time up ahead, which now is revealing that time moves slower down below and faster up above, which is really strange because you're measuring with the same clock. Now, how is it that altitude is affecting how much time has passed? If you take that analogy further, it's not an analogy, it's fact. Someone who lives on a mountain actually lives for more years, more time. And someone who lives on the ground lives less time. Our crops on the ground would grow slower than crops on the mountain. And with the atomic clocks, they measured the distance between the ground and the table, and they found that time moves differently. So time is definitely subjective. Just to let you know, if we take it further, the topic of time is that if you're on Earth, you're looking at a 24-hour cycle, right? So you're looking at how long it takes for the Earth to conclude a revolution around the sun, right, in our solar system. If you're on Pluto, right, or a planet even further away from the sun, then their rotation would be different. So a day on Pluto is not a day on Earth. Right? So if you say what's the time on Earth compared to what's the time on Pluto, there's a very different time. There is an entirely subjective time. So time is subjective, and time changes based on your interference or your engagement with it, as we can see in all these types of natures. Even with the most sophisticated instruments, they're finding time is not what we think it is. Now, returning back to the present moment, how do we know that we are in the present moment and not in the past moment? Because as this conversation finished, that was in the past, what was just said. Now we're back here. Anything you say now is going to happen in the future.
I don't know.
Right. So did that happen in the past or the future?
Now it's the past. It was the future.
It was the future, now it's the past. Exactly, which is now, okay, so what's really going on here? Right? So where is the present? Right? Is it here? Because as soon as it did that, it became the past. So as the words you're reading in the book, it's now become in the past and you're no longer in the present. So then, to be truly in the present moment is to not be truly in the present moment. Because you can never be truly in the present moment, right? Because the moment you think you're present, you're not. So anything that happens can only happen in the present moment. Because if you can't see it, then it's not actually happening in direct experience. Then can you show me the past? Through direct experience, here and now.
No.
So then did it happen?
There's a memory of it.
Where's the memory stored?
In the ether.
Well, wherever it's stored, but how are you accessing that memory?
Well, I don't know, if I think about it or reflect on it, whatever, I would say that, like all the energy isn't created, it's transferred. So there's that energy that was there has changed.
How do you know all of this? Can you show it to me now, here, now?
Can I show you it?
Direct experience, show it to me. Show me the past.
Show you the past? No, I can't.
Can you show me the future?
No, I can't.
How do you know the future is going to happen?
I don't.
How do you know the past happened?
Because I had an experience of it.
Can you show me this experience?
No, I can't show it to you.
So then how do we know it happened?
Well, I know it happened.
Where do you know it happened?
Because I experienced it.
But it's not here. So how do you know you experienced it?
I experienced it.
Where is it? Where is this experience? Can you see this experience? Can you show me? Can you show yourself this experience?
Well,
in the present moment, show me that experience.
I could play it back in my head.
In your head. So you're constructing in your mind the past.
Reconstruct what I experienced.
Right. Through your mind. But it's not here.
Not physically.
No, not physically. So if you're constructing something of the past, do you know with certainty that that's what happened? Let me give you
with absolute certainty.
Right, so then you're just guessing. And they actually proved this with psychologists saying that 50% of all memories are reconstructed in a negative way. So,
reconstructed in a negative
yeah, so what we do is say we had an event that was traumatic, we amplify that trauma by 50% on average. So the brain, if you want to call it the brain, is not a very good record keeper. It's a subjective record keeper of the past. The past, in experience we're talking about. And remember, we're talking about direct path of experience here. We're not talking about the holy texts and the gospel and all that, not part of this conversation. And you need to stick to the conversation. Otherwise we get, but are you saying, no, let's not even go there. I'm not even answer that, right? So then, if the past is a construction of the mind or the brain or whatever that is that we don't know about, right? Because we're not going to use terms that we don't know about. Where's the brain? Where is it? In the head, right? Because you've never seen it, right? But how do you know it's there? Because you saw it on TV from a memory, right? It doesn't exist, right? So if you were on an island by yourself, now, can you in any way determine that yesterday happened? And you didn't have a clock. How would you confirm?
Use the night and day, no?
But which day happened? Of course, based on logic, if yesterday happened, then the day before would have been day before yesterday.
The day that I saw a coconut fall from the tree.
Right, but can you be sure that they actually happened by yourself? Was there anybody there to witness the coconut falling?
I was there.
You were there, but that's not enough evidence.
Well, maybe the coconut's still there on the floor.
Could be. Could be that coconut or another coconut. So you don't know with definite certainty.
Well, that coconut could have fallen on a crab and the crab's still underneath the coconut that's on the beach.
Couldn't have happened any other time?
It could have, but I mean, if you witnessed it and it was before sunset and then sunrise and the crab's still there and the coconut's still there.
Couldn't be a different crab, a different coconut. With certainty.
I think you could be pretty certain that that's what happened the day before.
Okay.
Unless the coconut hit you on the head, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe you were hit by a coconut. So, theoretically speaking, and practically speaking, you can't be certain of the past. You can be certain of a concept of the past, which is a creation. Remember, any time you relive the past, it's the memory of something that happened. It's not what happened.
Yeah, that, okay, 100%.
Right? So then that event does not occur here and now. And part of the problem of explaining this is because most Western languages are constructed in a way that shows past and future. But there are other languages where you can make a conversation, make a statement, say, I'll meet you for lunch yesterday. That would be absolutely grammatically correct. So our language prevents us from getting this in many ways. And if you look at Arabic, for instance, there are ways you can construct a sentence in multiple tenses. And it would be equally valid and grammatically correct, right? And we'll explore this at another stage. So the language is part of the reason why we have this issue. Now, the present moment, in this present moment, any thought is a construction in the mind, right? So you know that the thought is not here, it's somewhere else, it's construction. What can you see here now? Is the room around us? It's me, right? Can you see a thought? No. Can you see a feeling? No. Can you experience a feeling?
Yes.
Right. So can you experience in the present moment the feeling?
Yes.
All right, that's the same way you can see me.
Yes.
In the present moment, and you can hear this voice coming out in the present moment. But that's what looks real. And all of this is being witnessed from what?
The sensory.
Well, there's something behind the sensory, right? Something feeding into the sensory that is creating this reality.
Right, yes. I mean, there's the sound and the vision and the smell and all of that is being put in. So,
Input?
sorry?
Input.
It's all input.
Sensory input.
Yes.
What's processing that?
Well, from my education, I would say the brain.
Right. So if you look at a cat, does a cat see what you see, hear what you hear,
I have no idea.
feel what you have no idea? That's a good answer. In fact, my favorite answer to any question is I have no idea, because now we're getting further.